to produce that sort of informal look. We don't want that military structure to it. So these coming down now, just popping in. Don't want that one there because this one's going to come down on top of it here. So that's going to be possibly the one side, but it's got a structure there. One more going into this one. These are the hybrid larch, the Dunkeld larch. The history of larch in this country is that up until about 1880, everything was European larch. The problem with European larch was it grew fast, but it got larch canker. And even in those days, in the mid 1800s to the late 1800s, forestry was practiced rather than woodland. And they wanted wood to use, domestically, commercially, and what have you. So that the larch canker could drop a whole forest of larch that had taken 30 or 40 years to grow. So in about 1880, the first Japanese larch came into the country. Now, Japanese larch don't grow fast, but they don't get canker. So you'll often hear the hybrid larch called the Dunkeld larch. The reason for that was the first stand of Japanese larch was planted in the estate of Dunkeld in Scotland, and they were planted below a stand of European larch. So they were accepting the fact that they would grow slowly, but they wouldn't get canker. After, I don't know, 10 or 12 years, they realized that there was self-seedlings growing, which were growing fast and not getting canker. And that's why, ever since the turn of the last century, anywhere in this country, apart from maybe the Caledonian Forest in Scotland, any larch are these hybrid larch. We sort of quite commonly call them the European larch, but they're not. They are actually the hybrid. And these are seedlings of that, so they're all individual anyway, but they're just wonderful things, easy to work with. I prepped the pot. So I put multiple wires in. When you do this, make sure you know which wire is which, because when you come to actually tie these in, you need to know that that wire there, that end is that end of that one. So that one's got no markings on it. That one's got it bent over, which comes to this one, which is bent over. And then I've got a Z in that one, which then goes to the Z in this one. So I know which wires are which. So just be aware of that. Now my main tree in this one is probably going to be this as the tallest tree. So I'm going to position in first. Somewhere towards the front for now. Possibly something like that. Maybe just a small movement in it, nothing too much. My next tree, size-wise, height-wise then, and all these should be different heights, okay? So I'm going to go into this area here with this one, with these coming off this edge here, which will be quite nice. And I'm going to just take off these inside branches, because otherwise it's going to get a little bit confusing in there. The other thing I want to do, and I've got, if you can see this, I'm very close to the trunk here, and I want to get that trunk very close to this trunk so that I've got this comfortableness in there. So those two, something like that. My next tree is going to be this one. I'm going to put 5 into this. Don't worry too much about odd numbers. You know what people say, oh, if there's 6 or there's 8, you know, it's wrong. Well, you know, if it looks right, it isn't wrong. That's what I say. So this one is going to give us some depth into this area here and go somewhere like that. And then these now are going to give us perspective. The shortest tree at the back, so it pulls your eye through, you know, depth of field if you do any camera work. So this now, with some branches coming back, so I'm giving the depth in it. So as these start to go together, this is when you realise that you don't want a lot of these branches. And it's time to cut them out to give yourself the room to work. So in is going to go that one into there. We've got one more, which is this one. Now this is just, I suppose you call it straightforward. It's just a sort of it is a straightforward group planting, which most people will get round to sooner or later. And it's a matter of just getting these nice and comfortable. And have a look from the front. I can see all the trunks there. I'm quite happy with that. What I'm not happy with is the noise that's going on in there, if you want to call it that. So I'm going to start cutting out some of the branches that I don't need, just to open up the trunks, show the beauty of the trunks. And there's some stuff going on here. I mean, it's a lot of wiring that you're cutting out, but you don't know until you put them together. And if you don't wire them first, well, you're never going to be able to wire them when they're together. So you've got to wire every time. So I'm setting branch structure into these now where I know I'm going to keep them. Again, creating the skeleton of the tree to be able to continue over the next few seasons, ramify where you need to. Because bonsai is all about ramification. Once you've got that skeleton of the tree, that's all you're doing after that is ramifying. If you learn anything, it's just you know, what trees need what. Some are better trimmed at certain times of the year for ramification. Some trees grow in slightly different ways. When you're with broadleaf, you're working with trees which flush once, single flush trees like beech and oak, which you need to be aware of, because if you're going to create ramification, you need to deal with that single flush in the right way to give you as much advantage as you can from it. And there's techniques that you can use to create the ramification where you want it, because we want the ramification comfortable in where we want it. All these trees want to grow to 30, 40, 50, 80 foot. What we want them to do is grow to a foot, but ramify in there. So we need to understand what we're going to do to create that. And it's not difficult. It's just a matter of, you know, common sense in a lot of ways, and just understanding how certain species grow. Cutting out a few more here, working on this side of the group first. So again, it's these fingers over fingers. When you set the level of a tree, the angle of a branch, everything else follows it. Okay, we don't have this happening, it all follows it. And hopefully, you know, in that sort of triangle thing that we've been talking about. Back in the back here. Start to look something like what I want it. Let's see. Not trying to put too much movement into these. The group itself will look elegant enough without, in fact, more elegant without the massive movement than it will with massive movement. I always like to have, I always like to have a branch coming down low. Gives that feel that it's with the earth. Might be a on there. Okay, so now I can think about tying in. I've got the wires that go with each other, so we can get in there. If you need to space your trees out before you get the last wires really tight, you can get the earth in between them, or if you see that they need to be closer together, make sure they are. It's at this point in the structure that you need to get things right. Don't if you think at all that what you're doing is not what you want, then start again. Take the trees out and put them back together, but get them right at this stage.
Chris, while you're doing that wiring, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
A few of us over at Blackmore Vale have seen some YouTube videos about group planting, and rather than do it your way, we've seen a couple of things. I'd like to know your thoughts on it. They're suggesting that you get a seed tray, for instance, and you get all your plants in it. You don't wire any of them. You plant them, you push them where you want them, pack earth in, and then that seed tray grow on for a couple of years, and then take the whole lot, when all the roots all knitted together, and pot them up. Now, Tony Moore, he's had a little adaptation to that, with putting some canes and things in across them, which is easier to put the trees where you want them because you haven't got to keep wiring them in. What do you think of that idea?
Well, I mean, if you, some people try and do this with bare root trees. I mean, that's difficult. These are 1 or 2 year grown like this. So there's a solid mass there, and it's very easy to manipulate them in this stage, You can do it with bare root and things like that. You can do it with a raft in there and things, But, as you can hopefully see from this, if you get the trees into this state, get them wired up and get them in and where you want them, there's virtually an image straight away, isn't it? For me, it's definitely the best way. Just going to get some earth around them a minute. And this will all be done properly tomorrow. So no tree the same height. I can see the trunks where I want them. Just open them out a little bit.
Bring it closer if you can, Chris.
Huh?
Bring it closer if you can. Come
Sorry?
closer.
What was it, Tom?
Come closer.
Yeah, we'll do.
Ah.
That's it? Yeah.
Yep. Anybody got any questions?
That's what we call a straightforward group. Okay. You should be producing trees like this, and with larch, if this isn't show ready in certainly 3 growing seasons, even 2 growing seasons, then you're doing something wrong. Because as we just pointed out, you can clip these and grow them 3 times a year. So you should get 3 growths and you know, at least 2 sets of ramification every year. So, you know, these are brilliant trees. They make great bonsai very, very quickly. What I want to do now, I don't know what time it's done. Oh, right. I want to do the Celtic thing now. You stick with me. Can everybody see that? Welsh slate, of course. Now, when you start using more than 4 or 5 sets of wires, you're going to get a problem, right? Even if you color code, I don't care what you do. What I've done with this is I've drilled and I've arrowdited these wires in, right? So every single wire can go to every other single wire and do the job. So I'm not worried about what wire is what. So I know now that I've got the ability to tie everything in the way I want it to. I've had a little look at this. It's not the best aesthetic bit of slate, but I'm short of slate without being able to travel. These all come from the old slate tips up in Betws-y-Coed, up in northwest Wales. I'm not worried about drainage because the water moves off the slate. You know, it's not a problem, so that's fine. So with this one, I've quite a few trees here. I'm going to start by getting these placed. Do a little bit of maneuvering, get these into the position they should be, or the angle they should be. Position wise, we're not going to know until we get them on there together. Done. Now, one thing that I like to show trees, and if you're going to show trees, the one thing you need is direction. The easy way to create an image, if ever you're doubtful, is to put the center of the apex over the center of the Nabari, right? And generally speaking, that will give you a good image. What it doesn't give you is direction. And if you're going to show a tree in what we call a tokonoma or an alcove in a space, as a 3-point display, a 2-point display, whatever, the one thing you have to have is direction so that everything flows. So what I like to do is always put that direction and that movement into what I create. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to do, because the slate moves that way, I'm going to incline my trees in that direction. Not much, doesn't need to be much, but needs to be something. So literally only needs to be something like that, you know. I've got this coming off here, which is going to come low, which is what I want. This one coming into place here, so that's going to be okay. Don't know whether I need these two because it's going to be on the inside of the thing. This is going to be my next tree here. So again, I'm just going to quietly move these into place. Some that I haven't wired here as ones that I wasn't going to use. Don't be afraid to cut, okay? Don't keep everything, don't have to keep the height, you know. If we come to that point where we think, no, don't need that, we're going to take it away. So there's a lot going on here for the bigger tree. I'm going to have smaller trees at the back anyway, so I'm certainly going to take out some of these. And that one going that way, and that one going that way, and that one. That's going to give me my second tree in there for now. So this is going to go somewhere like that. Again, inclined that way. coming down a little bit smaller, so the trees are going to move down through here. This is going to go somewhere in around here. There's branches there which are going to go. We've got a good branch here, which could look a lot better in that area than something like that. So we'll take that away. This one here can go. And this is the time you always need two people when you're doing a group, but we'll get there now. So this branch here I like because I want it to come down into this sort of area. So starting to get that to happen. Just keep that little bit of movement there, just to give that direction. Next one coming into play. In back branches, you want stuff coming back. You're looking at the front, so I'm working from the back at this at the moment. This one now is going to be in the way, it may as well go. These are the back branches. That's going to go in there, somewhere like that. I always like working with tall groups, you know, there's people who put like trees this high on you, but I like this dramaticness of the taller trees. So what we got in there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So for the sake of time, I think we'll use 7. So this. This now is going to go somewhere in around about there. Now the one that's going to make this group for me is this tree here, which I want virtually on the ground. And this is going to go in to this area here. And this is going to come right down onto the ground here. So that we're going to come through and down there. Just going to put one small tree in the back here for perspective. It's going to be that one into somewhere like that. So I'm going to just spin him around a second just to see where I am with that. So I'm getting kind of happy with that. There's a bit of, say, noise going on here. We'll sort that out in a minute. So I'm going to take these out of the pots. But whatever you do with things like this, if you don't feel it's right, then start again. You know, don't just do first hit and that's the way it's going to be. Make sure that what you've put together you're happy with. And they're wired like this, they stick together like mad. Want this closeness in here, like this. And as I say, the one that I think for me will make this group is this short one here. So I'm kind of happy where they are. I'm going to start tying stuff in. Then I'll be able to readjust the trunks. So just bear with me a second while I get these into where I want them to be. Any questions? Good time to ask.
Chris, can I ask you?
Yeah.
I'm not clear how your. Oh, I've lost you. I'm
here.
I'm not clear how your wires are holding the trees in the pot. Are you going around the roots or just running them over the root mass or what?
When you're over the top, because I've got that root ball of that there, yeah. So these are all wired, all arrowdited in. So any wire can go to any wire.
So once you've got all the wires, you haven't gone round any roots, you've just gone over them.
Absolutely, yeah, over the top. And then I've got so many wires here, look, that I can just pick one to bring over the top.
Yeah, so you get a network.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's many ways of doing this. You can form a raft out of bamboo.
Yeah.
So you could theoretically use two wires, right? And then what you do when you put your trees together, you put bamboos like a raft all through them. And then by bringing 2 wires over, it brings the raft down and holds them. And then the theory is then the bamboo just rots away after a few years. Everything's intermingled as a root system and you don't need it anymore. When you repot a forest as well, you repot as one tree. You're never going to take them apart again. You know, they're going to stay as they are, but you're going to repot as if it's one tree, taking the outer parts of the roots away, you know.
Thank you.
Do you grow all these larts yourself, Chris, or do you have a source for them?
Collect them.
Yeah.
These are all collected.
Right.
I collect about this sort of thing. I collect about 800 a year because if you think about it, that's not a lot in the scheme of things. Because if I do even 5 group planting workshops, you know, with let's say 6 people, they'll all use 10 or 12 trees, you know, so quite quickly 300 or 400 have gone in workshops, you know. I mean, there's the commercial for you if you want to. If you want me along to do workshops, I'm available. I can bring all the gear with me and we can have a good day messing about with trees. No better way to spend your time, is there?
I'm pretty sure we'd like to have that, you know, when we can.
Well, it's great because, you know, even if you just put together something like that, you know, which is easy, then, you know, you've all got a nice start on a little forest, haven't you? Right, this one now, I want to get that. Sometimes the arrowdite doesn't work when you do it quickly. That one's going to go over there. This one over here. I mean, a lot of what we do in bonsai with things like this is engineering. It's just working out a way that you can do the practical things. You know, the horticulture comes obviously, but you know, to put things together, to bend big trunks, all kinds of things like that, it's just engineering. It's just working out the best way and the most, you know, productive way to do it. So there's all kinds of ways that we can do, and a lot of them are much easier to show you in person rather than over this type of thing, like, you know. Right, so that's a lot of the wiring done. I can continue on with that tomorrow. What I'll do now is just get a little bit of shaping done here in the way that I want to do it. And again, as I keep saying, that this end tree here, which is very, very low, for me, is what's going to make this, because it's giving that character to the piece, that lowness, which is giving the dramatic drop off the rest of the trees, and is softening. If ever you do landscaping, when we do the planting, which we call the soft landscaping, the reason for doing that, apart from having plants in your garden, is to soften the hard landscaping. So what I'm doing here is the hard landscaping is the slate, and now this here is softening that line. And then we're just looking for levels. There's little tricks about setting the branches when you're moving them. The twigs off the branches need to be manipulated in such a way that they sit nicely, and there's little tricks to that. But again, it's possibly something better done one-to-one than through this medium, although I'm enjoying this actually. As I say, it's really nice to be back in front of bonsai enthusiasts, which I haven't been since, can't remember. The one main thing to impress on you is, do this because we love it, and it's just such a wonderful discipline. It's just a great platform to show off your personal things in aesthetics, and always be true to yourself as well. As much as I love the Japanese styles, and as much as I work with clients in their gardens with Japanese trees, it's never something that's done it for me, And I struggled at one time with bonsai because I couldn't understand why I wasn't enjoying it the way I thought I should be. And it suddenly came to me, what I want to do is Celtic trees. I want to do Welsh images, And once I got comfortable in that frame of mind, I've just loved bonsai ever since. And been very, very happy and comfortable with it. Just getting that little bit of movement into them, that hint of going left to right in this particular one, having a look inside the tree at where all the noise is. So you're looking at the front there, so there's a lot of noise in here, isn't there? So in I go. I'm going to take these out. I hope like this. There's this one here coming straight at us, which again we don't need. Better out, give us a bit of room in there. I can see most of my trunks. So I'll be probably an hour and a half, 2 hours tomorrow, just getting this right, and it's I don't want to be doing that tonight. I want to try and get the image finished to a degree where you can appreciate hopefully where I'm going with it. All those angles of those branches the same, we don't want anything going up and down, so I'm looking for the ones which are out of the picture, so to speak, and just bringing them back in. That one there for sure. So I'm getting to the point with that where I'm quite pleased with it. So what I'm going to do now is add some more soil. What I've purposely done is I've left enough slate that when it's finished, you can still see slate. It's pointless having a really nice pot or slab or whatever, and when you finish the image, you can't see it. So always keep that in mind when you're doing this type of thing. Okay, so that's the front.
Chris, can I ask, are you putting any NMAG or any fertiliser in with your mix?
Yeah, NMAG will be going in. Just be careful with your fertilising this time of the year. So certainly on your broadleaf trees and certainly on your aces, you know, you're not going to start fertilising until your leaves are open, right? So if you start fertilising too early, especially on aces, you're going to get the long internodes, which you're only going to have to cut back.
Right.
So let your deciduous trees open up, harden off, then we start feeding. And to a similar degree, we don't have too much trouble with larch because they're brilliant for internodes, but you will find that if you feed that little bit too early, that you will get long internodes.
Okay.
You know, and that's the last thing we want, really.
So you're not putting any.
Let me start from the front on this.
Are you putting any in that mix you're using?
So to keep everything. Are
you putting any in that mix? Any fertiliser? Are you putting fertiliser in?
I will, but not. I will.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I will, but not yet.
Right.
I'll start to feed these probably 3 weeks time, 2 weeks time, something like that, you know, as soon as my needles are well open.
Okay, thanks.
So this is where I want this image to really open up here. It is with this, I keep saying about this this low tree here. Now the moss is going in, which keeps my soil there. This will be with bent wire, these will be stapled in tomorrow. And again, this is the way, you know, you get...
question.
Hello, now then, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Then, back to what you were saying about roots and being able to work on them at any time of year. Now, I repotted a larch last year, and the buds were just opening on it, and it really struggled for the rest of the year. It wasn't until late summer that it started putting any real growth on, and it really, really struggled. I'm wondering, is there a window where you can't work on them, and then once that's passed, it's okay again? Or did I do something wrong?
Well, let's make one thing clear. And again, something that my mate Andy Smith says is a tree doesn't die, we kill it. You know?
Yeah.
So when I'm saying you can work on the roots at any time of year, I would rather not, you know, work these in the summer. But if I don't, most of the people that want to see this done is not going to see it. And what I've found that if you don't do too much, because these are good root systems anyway, and if your aftercare is responsible, then what I found is that they just don't miss a beat. So I'm not actually cutting roots in the summer, but I'm more than happy to manipulate them into position, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah?
Yeah, yeah, it does. This was a basic repot. It came out its pot and went into a larger pot. There was never any real roots cut. It was bare rooted, and then put into a larger pot with well-draining medium, and it just really, really knocked it back. I'm wondering.
And you done that in the summer?
No, it was.
Was it?
It was about this time exactly last year. It was the buds weren't just swelling; they'd just popped. They'd just popped, and I thought I better do it quick. They were starting to pop. There was a few open, and I thought, right, I better do it now. This is the time. And about 2 weeks later, I read something that said never touch a larch once the buds have popped. Well, like I say, it really did.
Yeah, I've got away with it for years, but you've got to be responsible. You know, the aftercare is what it's all about.
Yeah,
I agree. Can I? Good evening, everyone.
Yeah. So what I'm doing here now, I'm just finishing off a bit of mossing.
Chris, Andy Hartman would like to ask a question.
Hi, Chris.
Like to go, Andy.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Andy.
You all right, mate? Yeah, just a little bit on that subject. Over the last couple of years, I've noticed a lot of people, or well, not a lot of people, but more people are tending to repot pines and stuff in sort of summer. And it's there's a period of dormancy for the trees in summer before they go into their final sort of spurt of growth or do what they do late summer and towards the autumn. And I'm just what we were saying about the timing of repotting larch. I think it might be sort of relevant that as they're coming into a bud in spring, they've used all their energy reserves to put buds out. That they can have a period of growth for a couple of months, recharge their batteries as such, and then they go into dormancy just while they're like sort of midsummer while it's really hot. And I think maybe repotting at that time of year while they're in dormancy and before they go into that final growth, it might have something more to do with it. So maybe
quite possible.
It's sort of coincidental, but what you do in sort of midsummer or towards late summer is fine. But if you try doing it just after bud burst, then maybe you're creating problems for yourself that way. And that seems to fit in with what either Andrew was saying or Andy was saying before of the timing of when he did his.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on. You're doing fine.
But understand, I'm not manipulating the roots too much.
Yeah.
Because I've got a massive root ball in that 9 centimeter pot. You know, it doesn't seem, they don't seem to miss a beat.
Yeah.
But you know, you've got if you read the older Japanese text, if they want to repot an acer in the summer, they defoliate it and then repot it, because that acer is not going to come into anything growth-wise for about 6 weeks afterwards. So they get away with repotting acers the middle of the summer if they want to. You know, I suppose it's understanding what the tree's doing, isn't it?
I remember that the humidity in Japan is a lot heavier than ours.
Yeah. You know, I'm not saying do all these things. I found this out about acers because we had to, because you know, I was being invited to clubs, you know, in the middle of the summer, and they wanted to do forest workshops. Well, what do I do? Tell them I can't do it. We'll have to do it in the winter, or do I, you know, hook them and get it done? And I realised that I could get away if I was sensible, you know, to do these things in the summer. And, you know, I can honestly tell you, it doesn't hurt them, but you've got to be responsible with your aftercare.
I don't disagree with you, Chris. I repotted a ewe a couple of years ago at the end of August. Sorry, at the beginning of August, and it didn't miss a beat. It just didn't miss a beat.
Yeah. I mean, how often do we get offered something in someone's garden in the summer where they're redoing their garden? Absolutely. And we think, well, we'll take a chance on it. And that, you know, 99% of the time, in the middle of summer, you lift a shrub or something and it works, doesn't it? You know, it's, as I say, a tree doesn't die, we kill it. Just depends how you go with it. Okay, so what we've got, don't know if you can see that properly. Yeah, everybody happy with that? So when I say Celtic bonsai, we've got slate from Betws-y-Coed, we've got trees from Seven Sisters, we've got moss from Merthyr Tydfil. This is Celtic bonsai. Thank you, lads.
Everybody unmute yourself and give him a clap.
I'll get it.
Thank you.
It's the first time we've done that, Chris, on a Zoom where somebody's taken us through forest, etc., etc. So we really appreciate your efforts tonight. It's a whole new experience for all of us. So we're all learning as we go. Next week we've got Andy Hardman's going to be chatting about soils. Andy, do you want to have a quick chat?
Yeah, I'm happy to.
This will be emotive.
Have you got me? There it goes. I'll just be straightforward. Yeah, I'm basically going to talk about my sort of take on different types of soils or substrates to use, and then a little bit about fertilizers. My talk will be sort of based on a lot of misinformation that you see on social media and stuff like that. I'm more of a horticulturalist, and I'll give you my, well, yeah, you'll see, if you join in next week, you'll see what I've got to say on substrates and nutrients. There you go.
Andy, you're the English part of the Six Nations of Bonsai. And then Peter Thorne, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Peter Thorne's going to be, well, Peter's going to explain. That's going to be the Scottish part of the Six Nations. They should do well this weekend as well, I hope.
Well, who knows?
So Peter, if you could explain what you're going to be doing in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I thought I'd do a little chat about Scots pines, Pinus sylvestris, and particularly about the technical techniques for how you prune those pines and what you expect to achieve it when you prune them at different times of the year. And I've got a little presentation that shows the effect of pruning these things and what we do and how we do it. I've also got a little video clip that just shows you some of the trees around my garden that I can share with you. I'm much happier if we're dealing with questions and answers, so it's not a extended presentation, because I hope that there'll be some questions. There usually are when I do these talks about these kind of things, because pruning Scots pines seems to be a bit controversial to different people, different opinions. But that's in a couple of weeks' time, and hopefully we'll have a good audience to listen to that, and I can answer any questions that you may have.
Brilliant. Well, tonight is the biggest audience that we've had. We had at one point, there was nearly 65 people. But if you count Chris Thomas, he was there twice. So it's still a very good
his presentation. They're just winding up now.
Yeah.
Alison keeps popping in and out as well.
Nice thing of, yeah, that's why I mute people so they don't need to see it.
It's always nice to see it.
It's just a control thing. So yeah, and next week, especially when Andy's done one for us before and some of you have been on it, and sometimes he really doesn't mind a bit of abuse while he's presenting. So, you know, if you do have questions, then give it to Andy. Really, especially with the way that England have been performing in the rugby. So he needs some abuse, I think, because it's pretty poor standard, really. And Scotland's been doing well, and Wales should get the Grand Slam, really. So on that note, I'd like us all to say a big thank you to Chris Thomas. I think he's done a great job, great effort for the first time doing a Zoom potting session. Just great, really, on my part. Thank you from Twickenham. We've only been going about 18 months, and yeah, about that. So we're really pleased how things have been progressing. The Zooms are going to get less because hopefully coming out of lockdown, we can start hooking up, but keep maybe a Zoom going once a month. So we'll just inform you as we go, really. Thank you so much for your time. Some of you have got links, and some of you have already donated bits and pieces. We'd like to make that transferable to the people that are presenting if we have any money. We're a young club. We only got a couple of £100 in the bank. So if you feel comfortable in doing a donation, we appreciate that. It will be well spent on red wine for me, some sort of white wine for the others, and a few beers, really, on that side. So thank you very much indeed. If you have any questions, email my wife. She knows everything, so you can get in touch with her. I can give you a number. Anything to do with bonsai, you can speak to Chris Thomas, to do with larches and some Welsh slate. We need to get some of that. Chris, I can see you're gagging to say something.
Not necessarily. I just a bit of a hiccup with the technology, but got over that. It's been an interesting exercise.
Chris, we're all learning. With me. We're all gaining experience from this. It's going to move forward. I don't think Zooms are going to go away, especially in the bonsai world. And I think you've done a great effort for the first time. We've all learned. We've all learned from the experience.
Good. It's as long as we can inspire people, just have a great time playing with trees. That's what it's all about, you know.
Thanks a lot, Chris.
Anybody got any questions before we go?
Just one. All those principles you've done with larch, will they work with oak as well if you wanted to make a little oak forest?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah. But just, what I was saying about the form of a tree, the style of a tree, you know, with an oak, don't bring your branches down. They're going up. Look at your oaks, look at your broadleaf, and create the form, you know? Yeah. I mean, you can bring them down, they'll look all right, but they don't look like oaks, you know? So upwards.
Awesome.
Down at the end maybe, but upwards. Yeah. But yeah, great.
Thank you.
You know, little Cotoneaster forests, potentillers, the sequoias and the swamp cypresses, loads. There's nothing you can't do a forest with, you know? Yeah.
Chris, there's a lot of messages from people saying thank you. They've put it in the chat. So you've got John, he's had to leave a bit early, but he got some great practical tips from your knowledge. Thanks, Chris, from Graham Whitaker. Tom Buchan, thanks, Chris. He did a donation as well, so thanks, Tom. So there's lots of lovely comments. Interesting evening. So lots of nice messages coming through, and a big thanks to you, Chris.
Glad people enjoyed it.
Thanks to Twickenham Bonsai for arranging this as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thanks, Ian.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Tony. Great evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye.
Great evening.
Bye.
Bye all.
Yeah.
Peace with you.
Good night, all.